I'm Drew of drewsraremusic.com, and this video, quite frankly, is just a shameless promotion for my website. If you love classic rock, stuff that's really hard to find anywhere else, you'll love drewsraremusic.com. One of my favorite things to do is watch political commentators on TV. Frankly, most of them are idiots, and I'm a bigger idiot than most of them put together, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about the current state of politics in the U.S. today. Well, let's start with the 2008 Democratic Party, the nominees that they're putting forth. When I first saw the nominees that they were putting forth, my first reaction was, who put this together? Karl Rove? It seemed aimed at getting the Republicans back in office again. In the beginning, most of the candidates' main platform was, I'm not George Bush. But as things progressed, I think we began to see some very interesting things. Barack Obama, at first, really, I think, came out with some good ideas. He was well-spoken. I think he gained a lot of respect where he would not have gained respect elsewhere. But now you listen to Obama and he sounds like a southern preacher. We're going to go down to South Carolina. We're going to win South Carolina. He's resulted to the type of mudslinging that is everything he said he wouldn't do. Who has really surprised me is Hillary Clinton. First of all, if you asked me 2 weeks ago about Hillary Clinton, I could have filled an hour video on every reason why we wouldn't want Hillary Clinton as president. But after seeing her latest ads and seeing the last Democratic candidate debate, which in my opinion she won hands down, a few interesting things have emerged. The first thing is, watch Obama's ads. When you see the Obama ads, it's always very interesting. He's making promise after promise after promise. There's the picture of him walking in front of the White House, all pensive and looking worried, like he's thinking about the American people, like a young and very tan John Kennedy. Now, if you watch Hillary's ads, the only promise that Hillary makes in her ads, and I find this very revealing and quite frankly very refreshing, the only promise she makes in her ad is she will take your voice to Washington if she votes. Obama is making promises he can't keep, quite frankly. What's going to happen is, let's say he's elected, and he's going to start pushing through this initiative and that initiative, and he's writing this law and he's writing that law. He is going to be struck down by the Congress and the Senate on everything he's proposing, and he has absolutely no chance of keeping these campaign promises whatsoever. My initial reaction is I liked the beginning, but of course I knew as soon as I saw Mike Gravel, he had absolutely no chance of winning whatsoever. I knew he'd be out of the race very early. Now when I look at Hillary, would she make a good president? Hey, she made a good president last time. She did a fine job last time, and one of the great things is, I understand she's taken Bill's Viagra away, and he's not going to be in charge of interviewing the interns. And I think she'd at least be smart enough to make any intern she was with wear a smock, so there'd be no DNA later. But the fact of the matter is, she is a very intelligent person. I honestly am starting to think she cares about a lot more than herself anymore. Initially, you saw Hillary Clinton, and the first impression of her was the only thing she cared about was expanding her own power base. And now I don't find that to be true anymore. I find she really does care. And I honestly believe she will go to Washington with the people's voice and do her best to push these initiatives through. I think she said it best. They've been knocking her for 35 years now, and they still can't get rid of her. It would be interesting to see what she would do as president. Would a woman make a good president? Like any man, it depends on the woman. But for the most part, I think women are smarter than men, stronger than men, and more emotionally evolved than men. It might be interesting to see what a woman would do with the office. And if Hillary Clinton were that woman, I think if she were our commander-in-chief, while she would try to restore our standing in the world that George Bush destroyed, I don't think she'd take any crap from anybody either. I don't think she'd go running into a war for the sake of it, like George Bush lining Dick Cheney's pockets in Halliburton. But I do believe she wouldn't take any crap either. I think she could honestly restore some of America's standing in the world. It's going to take generations and maybe 3 or 4 presidents to bring back what George Bush took away from us. But I think she'd probably be a good start to it. Now the Republicans, I just don't see it happening this time around. You've got not Mike Gravel, I said him already. You've got Huckabee, who frankly I know nothing about other than he used to be a minister, an evangelical minister. And quite frankly, I think the Christian right is too far entwined into our government now. I think inviting anybody with ties to the Christian right is just more of selling our freedoms down the line, and we certainly don't need any more of that. No matter what your opinion on something like abortion is, we do not have the right to tell another person what they can and cannot do with their body. I think one of the first things Huckabee would do in office is he would try to get rid of Roe versus Wade. He'd try to do what Bush did, get as many nominees onto the Supreme Court as he could, people that thought like him, and would try to strike down Roe versus Wade. The only thing about Romney that I find interesting is if he's elected, how many wives can you fit in the presidential quarters? That could be interesting. Which first lady does the press conferences with you? Which first lady does the inauguration? Giuliani, I think, is more of a Republicrat than a Republican. And I think that's what's missing from American politics today. If we could find a good Republicrat, someone who thinks fiscally like a Republican, but doesn't want to take our rights away, wants to protect human rights like a Democrat, I think you'd have an unbeatable candidate. So once again, go to drewsraremusic.com and buy one of my DVDs, please.